Today's topic is
a Warhammer Dad's view of the hobby.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to WAYPN. I'm Cal.
And I'm Sunny.
And we have with us
Doge.
Who is Doge?
I'm a Warhammer dad. I've got two sons who are in the hobby, and I've been playing for about 20 years now, give or take.
Only 20 years.
So how did you get your boys into Warhammer?
It actually was by chance. We were going through some old boxes at a relative's house, and my oldest son at the time, he started pulling out Space Marines out of this box, and he was about 5 at the time, and he asked questions like, what's these tanks? What's this and what's that? And I completely forgot about it. I put my hobby on hiatus because hobbies and
heresy
don't play well together. And then starting from there, we just started to get into Warhammer more and more. And then he wanted to start collecting. We, pretty much went on from there to the point where he's now got his own 4,000 point army. My other son, he's now got his 4,000 point Blood Angel army. And we play regularly now.
Doge, you've been in this for quite some time. So I was surprised to hear that little bit from you because as far as I knew, you introduced your boys to the hobby.
Correct. Yeah, well, I guess when he, started pulling out the tanks and whatever else, because I had a Space Marine chapter, a custom made one, I pretty much went, are you interested in this? And he was more interested in the vehicles and the tanks because he was into cars at that stage. And then I was like, if you want to know more, here's some books. And of course, he couldn't read and he doesn't understand the concept of 40K.
Yeah.
But it was more, there's vehicles. We roll dice. Dice make sound. It's fun. So we played made-up rules where you roll an even number, the person's out of the game. We had to make it more child-friendly. Explaining to a 5-year-old how a las cannon works or how a heavy flamer literally melts the skin off your bones. Questions would have been raised by his mother, which could be dicey at the best.
This is great to hear.
They're out of the game. Tiggy, no violence here. Please don't tell your mum.
This is excellent to hear because when we introduced our previous guest, Kat, and we got her to explain to us, what were your thoughts about bringing your little one into the hobby? And she was telling us about vetting and things like that. And she didn't really know what to do because she didn't know the hobby. But hearing it from you and how you've sort of made it child-friendly kind of gives us another perspective on this topic. Yeah,
no, definitely. I think it's really good. So I've got to ask. The game designer in me wants to know, why was it odds and evens instead of like 3, 2, and 1, the low side of the dice being out and 4, 5, and 6 being success or whatever instead of odds and evens?
So it was really simple hand gestures. So if the dice had, say, 6, 3 fingers on one hand, 3 fingers on the other hand, that's a win. But if one hand had 2 fingers on it, one had 3, which is a 5, that's not the same. So it doesn't count.
Okay.
And it was literally just to break it down as simple as possible, where now that my oldest son is 7, 8 years old, we play proper rules. Like we don't dumb it down anymore. But with my youngest son, we still play a mixture of, it's a little bit more, he's got to roll over a certain number because he can count to 10. So we can go, you need to roll X amount, and he can sit there and he will physically count the dots on the dice. This is 1, this is 2,
Okay, cool.
You need 4. Is there 4? And he can do that. Where younger, it was a little bit harder.
Okay, cool. So, Doge, you've actually had an interest in getting more young bloods into the hobby because you are responsible for our greatest failure.
The very first video that we did on this particular topic.
Yes, and the thing was back then, a great success was having 40 views and we were getting 20 on average. And when we did the one on the K word,
yes,
the C word, it went down to 8 and nobody saw it.
I have apologized.
Yes.
That's all I can say. I apologize. Please forgive me. But stop sending
heresy. Don't say that, especially not on YouTube. We didn't send anything. We didn't send anything.
Please return my children.
I'm not even sure we can keep this in now. But anyway.
It's real.
All right. No. Oh no. But I wanted to ask, why were you so passionate about getting younger players into the game?
It's a hybrid of, with today, screen time, playing video games. And there's nothing wrong with that, like with your YouTubes and video games with kids. Like definitely with my wife and I, if we just want a good 20 minutes of just quiet, YouTube goes on. But I think a lot of the younger generations in today's generations, they're missing out on board games and tabletop. When my son was in a younger grade, he had his friends come over, and to see their faces light up when we were playing Blackstone. So Blackstone, for those who aren't familiar, it is a GW game. It's still being sold. I don't know if they're still printing it or if been discontinued, but there is boxes available. But it's such a simple game for them to learn. Like literally on the cards, it shows you what the dice needs to look like. So if they struggle with maths, if they don't understand, you literally go, do you want to do X, Y, and Z? Dice have to look like the picture. That's it. And they loved it. They had like a physical model that they could pick up and they could put on the board, and there was the enemy players, and they were moving, and they can physically see that on a board. They can pick up the models, had weight, where video games and stuff like that in the digital world, it's all just pixels. Like there's nothing physical to hold.
Yeah.
And for me, I greatly appreciate my son's adopting, this hobby and making it a staple of our family routine. Every weekend we play board games or tabletop games, and it just gets them away from the screens. It's something we can all do. My oldest son, he's very artistic, so he's now shifting away from playing more and wanting to get into painting, wanting to start painting his own chapters. He's looking into, starting to progress into more art side of the hobby than playing, where my younger son, who is still 2 years younger than the oldest, he's more into, he likes playing. He likes the sound of dice hitting the table. He likes building these tabletops. We've got an apocalypse-sized tabletop, which is 2.2 meters by 1.2 meters wide, and he will turn that thing into all kinds of horrendous messes. There's buildings, there's trees on buildings, there's buildings on trees, and I'll have to glue that back together tomorrow. And there's all kinds of things, but it doesn't involve a screen. And he'll tell stories, like he'll tell me, oh, these guys, like his blood angels, are teamed up with the Thousand Sons to defeat whatever it is, the Eldar. And it's like, cool, that doesn't make sense, but great, whatever, you're having fun. Tell me this story, tell me this tale that I haven't heard. And it's a heck of a lot better than them sitting watching TV and YouTube and playing video games all day.
So I've heard something very similar from you and Kat. So both Doge and Kat agree that screens are kind of the enemy for kids. I wanted to ask, what is it that makes screens the enemy for you?
It's more just, I guess, inactivity. Like you just sit and watch something where I'll give you a great example. So with my oldest son, he for their maths class, they were learning money, how to count money, how to give change. So we bought a Monopoly game and we played that. We played that to death. I don't want to play Monopoly ever again in my life.
Most people don't.
You always tell me this, that Monopoly is a great way to ruin everything.
But he got the highest grade in maths for his class because he knew maths. He knew maths so well because I'm very impatient. So he will learn how to give change so quickly.
Oh, I see.
I do not want to sit and wait for him to count it out because then it's not my turn. I want my turn again. So he learnt maths really quick. And it's same with Warhammer, quick math. To break things down from a big maths problem to a simpler maths problem that he can understand, and he can figure out the answer very quickly because, once again, I don't want his turn when we're playing a 4,000 point game to take an hour. I want it to take 5 seconds because then I can have my turn and I can take an hour. So I want him to do maths so quick.
I see.
And these are the things where watching TV, it's just you sit and hear, a story. You sit and hear something. You don't really get anything from it. Where this is, for me, it's kind of learning or teaching them without them knowing. They're having fun.
It seems that when you have a bit more practical experience in learning with kids, they pick things up a lot faster and it sticks in their head. So it's kind of, I like that point because it's not just watching a TV on how to count.
Sunny, could you talk a tiny bit about your background and why you say that?
Well, I grew up watching children's TV shows.
I meant more the teaching part.
Oh, okay. Yes, I was a children's art teacher for a short period of time. And with them, you had to really teach exactly like how Doge said, you have to simplify things for the younger ones. And with that, once they get a feel of things like brush control, right? I had to hold their hand and show them and teach them, can you feel that when I press it down this way versus when I press it up this way? And they're like, yes, I can. And then that's how they get it. With the practical experience, they pick things up a lot faster as compared to just watching me do something.
But I think that there was something that you were going into which Doge just finished talking about, which was the passion, following whatever their passion was.
This is true. Some of the young ones would show interest in crafts, or like I'll just give them something to try. Maybe they've been doing coloring for so long, they're just done with it. Let's try painting. Let's try crafts. Let's try using different tools. And they'll show, oh, this is something different. Let's do this. Let's do that. And then they start finding their interests within the larger subject of art.
And I think that what Doge is saying is that it's even more indirect. It's not like the parents have sent them here to do this thing. It's that they've got this passion about this, and then there's Doge in the background. Well, would you like to paint a Warhammers?
Would you like to find out more?
Well, I remember,
poison apple.
like a year or two ago, I ran a massive full campaign for Blackstone Fortress, and I think the oldest kid was maybe 9. And they were all younger than that, and they loved it. Like, you could see them, feel the crushing defeat of, wow, they went down this corridor, didn't think things through, and then the next time they'll work more as a unit. Like, I had one of his friends, he just up and left right down this corridor, went by himself, went for glory, got surrounded, got taken out. The next game, he sat with the group very quickly, and I was like, cool, like, you've learned something. You've learned that going off on your own, you could get into trouble, where as a group, one can help the other. The ones that have ranged weapons can help the ones that are in close combat, so on and so forth. And they enjoyed it. And yeah, look, the parents laughed because I get well into it. I do the voices, we get well into it, and I go, yeah, leave them here for a day. That's cool. Pick them up when you're desperate to get them back. I'm happy to play. Like, now have a group that I can sit and play Blackstone with all day.
And they'll actually pay attention and not spend an hour on their turn, unlike most adults.
Oh, I don't want to hear people's life stories. It's like kids just want to roll. That they're more excited about rolling dice. So it's like, great. No, I've had some of them. We've played from 9 a.m. till 3 p.m, only breaking for lunch.
Wow.
And they get upset just as much as I do when their parents come and pick them up. Play for another hour. It's like,
I see.
I'll argue with your parents to stay for another hour. Like, let's finish off this campaign, or let's go to this stronghold or something.
You know what's really funny, Doge, is like you are in a very sort of professional job. I'm not going to mention the job at all, but let's just say that it's a very high stress, very intense job. So I think a lot of people would sort of, when you describe yourself in that moment, they'd sort of think of sort of more a beach bum sort of guy rather than yourself, who is doing well in life, I'll say. And okay, Doge, so there's one burning question that I'm sure everybody wants to know, especially as somebody who is a Warhammer dad. They know about this. Cost. How does cost affect things?
Oh, it depends if my wife is listening or not.
Oh, no.
Divorce may or may not be on the cards at the end of this video. But no.
We will protect your identity at all costs.
Oh, I'm not concerned about that. It's my life.
All right, continue.
But in relation to costs, it comes down to the age of the person. So if the, I guess, the people that you're trying to get into the hobby, if they're quite young, going for the pristine, like Primark models or the top tier models that you're getting from the gaming companies, you're kind of wasting a bit of money because they might not have the finer painting skills that they need to paint these models. So for me, once again, with both of my sons, I've gone to yourself, who's a 3D printer, and I've asked for any misprints that you have. Can I pay for just the cost of the resin to get these misprints?
Yeah, well, I just give them when I'm doing whatever you want printed up, so you get them anyway. Because, well, you did ask for them, even though I think they're fails.
Exactly. And look, they're still pretty good for misprints. And once again, yeah, my sons have painted all these different ones, and they get these skills, or at least start to learn these skills. And yeah, look, will they be on armies on parade? Probably not, but they're learning. And yeah, in the future, like my son's already said, he wants to have a go at an Imperial Knight. That's his target within the next year or so. He wants to do it. He's moved into a new game that's come out of, I believe, the UK or Europe called Bushido. So he's now doing those clans. He wants to do more. Those kind of things. If you're now moving away from the painting and the art side of the hobby to gaming itself, look more to the box sets. You know, those that you have Team A and Team B that they can play either by themselves or with a sibling or with a friend out of the box. A lot of the ones, once again, going from GW and I guess Bushido as well, they have the teams, they're already kind of in different colors, the resin or the steel.
You're talking about things like, I think it's called Warhammer Underworlds and things like that, where everything already comes pre-colored. So out of the box, correct, you can sort of know who's who.
Exactly. And then it's a case of, cool, they've got something to start off with, where if you gave them just a single unit from a single box, don't have all the rules, don't have anything to really do, you just have a whole bunch of statues, and they'll lose interest and move away pretty quickly. Where if you can go, cool, out of the box, we can play. You know, once again, take Monopoly, for example. You have everything in the box. You just don't have like, oh, here's a whole bunch of houses. Go. That's it. So you have to go and buy the board or the money.
So this is one thing that you've just added, which is kind of critical at the end here, which is that you have to remember that they're kids and their attention span is low.
Correct. 100%. 100%.
Okie doke. Well, with that, how about we wrap up? So, number one,
you have to make sure they're interested.
Find what they are interested in. Is it A, B, or C? Painting, PvP, or PvE?
Yeah, okay. Number two,
use the game to teach them practical skills.
If they can learn without knowing it, that is kind of an advantage. And it helps them in other fields. It helps them with school. It helps them with life.
Number three,
the cost. Remember that they have short attention spans.
Don't go heavy into it straight away. Slowly work out what they're interested in, just little bits at a time. They don't need a whole set straight out of the gate.
And we end every episode by saying, keep those brushes wet. Bye-bye.
So, like, I've done the recording like you asked, so can I get my sons back now?
We'll see how many views it gets, Doge.
Honey, what are you doing over there?
Nothing you need to be worried about.
I'm currently now worried.
Nothing certain people need to be worried about.
Honey!
100,000 views.
Please, I can only tell my wife that the kids are at the park for so long before she knows I'm lying. Please. I'm desperate. You won't let me buy any more Warhammer unless they return home.
Oh no!